Striding skeletal remains in a hail of bullets, the boots of the fist make planetfall to a doomed colony. The Emperor's grip has loosened on this now charred ball of dust. The eastern planet of New York City. Astride in the dust of 1,000 worlds, the Yellow Man marches on. Greetings, chromatic warriors. They call me Mr. 5, and I am here to finish what has begun. So, in a previous video, I was detailing out the backdrop of this piece. Also, side note, I like to horse-neck heavyweights around in the dungeon basement. And while horse-necking on a Sunday, I was loading some plates around, and I ended up clapping this finger. It's a very offensive finger, between a stack of weights. I don't know how much force was applied. I wasn't sure of the fate of my finger or the fingernail as the recording of this tutorial went on. The hand heals by the end, and as you can see, everything is just fine. I would work away painting for an hour and then go ice my finger for 5 minutes and get back to it, not knowing if my fingernail was going to do a backflip, but I am not immune to magic, and I know the correlation clearly here between the Emperor's finest Imperial Fists, their pastime scrawling upon the bones of their ancestors, their pastime being scrawling upon the bones of their ancestors, and me struggling with my own ruined fist of sorts. I am not immune. Let's get into it. Well, I guess I don't really need the glasses. Anyways, over a zenithal spray of chemical paint, base coat the man with a rich sunburst ochre, which is a light terracotta tone if you're generalizing. You could also use an airbrush, but this one is for my handheld operators. I'm going to be making a paint bundle with the army painter for the specific Imperial Fist faction colors. Cool! That information aside, next up, wet blend sunburst ochre and fiendish yellow together. A key term to remember on this expression of yellows is value control. The tip of the nose should not match the toes. Eh? There is a gradual escalation of brightness as the eye travels upwards. A delicate dance of mixtures creates this, but seeing is believing. As we proceed, keep this in mind, and watch that apparently bright coat of sunburst ochre behave as a deep shadow in comparison to what is coming. Feathering and glazing, shadow and mid-tone. After wet blending, it is down to feathering. Using small, diluted amounts of paint, I'll be smoothing out that yellow even further, still with the same two colors, fiendish yellow and sunburst ochre. I'm being a little excessive here, but my intention is to enter this model in a painting competition, the Capital Palette at the Nova Open, so your results may vary, your satisfaction may vary. I'm going hard on this one. It's a good representation of what can be done, but again, spend your own time wisely. To raise with demonic yellow. That is your next mission, chromatic warrior. Note, a single murky layer, setting the radius I'm trying to cover. Think of this as a plate of color. After multiple layers on a seemingly rough start, as seen on the butt flap, the smoothness will come through multiple layers. Maintain a wider light influence at this stage. There are more plates of color to come within the radius being established. Edge highlight. At this point, before the colors become too varied, it's best practice to start building the edges up before blending away on the smooth plates. I'll be using fiendish yellow and demonic yellow daily for this. It took about a week. Space dust will be used for the next highlight. Things are getting fucking tight. Breaking into their own topographical islands, away from the shore of any edges, these glints exist alone on some surfaces. The shoulder pad most notably, taking a specular influence to emulate a semi-satin reflection. If you don't understand what a specular influence is, imagine a bald spot with the sun shining down atop it. This man with a bald spot is standing on a hoverboard. As he spins the hoverboard, the sun's reflection does not vary from the angle it meets your eye. That is a specular reflection. Okay, ice yellow is the final highlight. We need to work on the armor a little more, but let's get some of the surrounding details built up in case we need to cover any mistakes with battle damage. Pro tip, if you made a mistake, that's where the bullets hit. Black weaponry and iron hull gray icons for viewing pleasure. Intending to use true metallic metal, normally I wouldn't worry and go straight in with glitter paint, but with a black base, they will work better due to science. And it will also leave a black line in my metallic paints right at that boundary if I don't come watertight right up next to the armor plate. I have to do everything so perfectly all the time. At this time, I applied some decals. I made a tutorial on decals before, but I was just following the advice of my friend Vince. And you know, why I like Vince? He's adaptable. He's a funny guy who seems to possess informational depth on just about any area, which allows him to go into new places and meet with new people. I'm really thankful for the bond I have with this special person. Shouts out to Vince Venturella. Yeah, I was just supposed to talk about how much I like him. So battle damage with oak brown. One messy step before moving on to the bits. This helps bond the decals to the surface they're on. All natural. Feel free to switch to a yellow tone. You don't want every chip to reach down to that ceramite beneath. Some are more superficial, so removing a little of the decal with a slight yellow chip, getting some oak brown damage around or on top of it. Yeah. Now the metals. Working from the inside out of these smaller, not yellow objects, the metal is the deepest beneath the gun casing. I'll use cobalt metal for that. Put them on a cold steel diet. Okay, next up, in tandem, I'm going to paint a couple of items. They're similar but different. The Stormbolter and the Crux Terminatus. On an iron hull gray base coat, highlight the gun case and any other black bits with the Darkness. Thank you, John Blanche. Followed by Night Sky. I'm going cold with a lot of these accenting objects, highlighting the Crux Terminatus and black bits with uniform gray. And again, that was over an iron hull gray base. If you haven't been paying attention, I ask for about 20 minutes of your focus to keep reminding you. But now, in tandem, raise the edges of those two objects with gray castle. A lovely dance of industrial tones escalating from cold and darkness to a finalizing highlight of Ice Yeller, also known as Ice Yellow. I'm Sam Lenz, and that's Ice Yeller. Following the grays, the reds. From a black base, blanched berry. We want a subdued red. The Imperial Fists are red and yellow, but not just any. We want a brick red and a gold and yellow. Blanched berry will bring a suitable bricky red, opposed to the flashy crimson of the Ultramarines. Anyways, I don't want to get too angry. On top of the blanched berry, apply flag red. We must meet the vibrant tone at one point and then cap it with a suitable shift. Apply this in small amounts to imply a waxy texture to the purity seal. Not gonna get mad. Not angry. On flag red, angelic red. I do enjoy a nice selected stack of colors. When staring at the whole rack of paints, one can pair certain progressions with the eyes. The eyes of an angel, angelic red. That's the color. And on angelic red, fun to say, ice yellow. A final warm tap of that reoccurring ice yeller. Tiny dots and slashes at this point, and scene. How am I doing? Good. Don't forget to mention links. I just did. No, you didn't. Didn't I? Didn't I? Thought I did. What? Hello again. On that crusty purity paper, begin with oak brown. Lay then leather brown while leaving linear crevices. It's important to get a crinkly paper. And then Baron Dune in the same patterned painting progression. Think of a folded piece of paper, all right? How many books have you ruined? All those pages, all those precious words creased over with your floppy folding. Now, as if superhuman anatomy wasn't enough, in a further waste of resources, each veteran of the Space Marine Forces gets a targeting array. Start that with a darkness, and then a small crescent of temple gate teal in order to create the appearance of a convex, transparent surface. Talisman teal is added next, in the same shape, but smaller. You'll need your finest brush and a deep breath as you proceed. No oxygen lies beyond as you struggle to paint between breaths and apply the thinnest hair of ice yellow. The face! First, a nice lush coating of brigadine brown. Moving upward into a warmer tone, dryad brown was applied. Don't go for the detail immediately here. Keep this layer broad. Not every crevice will reach the maximum depth of shadow as we highlight further. But okay. Highlighting further, use onyx skin. Now, pulling up the folds of skin, nostrils, and brow bones. Finally, I'm trying to speak slowly so I can share footage. Commando khaki in very sparing amounts, pulling in a specular influence once again for best highlighting practices. Good work. Highlight the shells with greedy gold. That was true copper to start. But anyways, I got that out of order as I was painting and recording, but flip it, reverse it, back in proper order now. Wash the metals with grimdark shadow and highlight with mithril. Just some good, clean, and honest TMM here. Love the stuff. Battle damage. Yeah, time for some realism in all of this fakeness. To apply the many chips of varying brightness in a finalization ritual. This is your final round, Chromatic Warrior. Correct any errors you see and enhance the strengths of blend and value control. Where I've created wider chips, I'll place gray inside the gaps to represent the unpolished ceramite beneath. Capture the underline of these damages to create a fall 3D effect. Glorious! You're doing so well. From there, streaks of diluted oak brown to finish off the armor. Look at that look at that scum. So as it began with the legs, it now ends. The circle of legs is complete. Hi, we had a lot of fun back there. And this piece is something truly new for me. I've never made a project based on a picture frame, which is funny after all the backdrops I've done. I never thought to put a square around it. But today is different. I painted this for the Nova Open and was unsure which category it would go in. My heart said single miniature, but I mean, I could make an argument for a unit as well. But in the end, it was placed in the diorama category. Totally fine with me, but I also had another piece in that category. The project I had painted at Dogma 48 at Verco's Vault, which won an award. As things go at the Nova Open, you're only eligible to win one medal per category. Makes a lot of sense, but you can put up to 3 entries in per category, and the judges will pick their favorite. So I'm happy. And it's a funny story that this thematically wandering Marine just kind of strides into another category. So we'll see what the future holds. I want to make more pieces like this. This is the fourth of the major 5 projects where I was trying to challenge myself, do things differently. Yes, I feel really good about it. I'm eager to make more similar things and have ideas on top of this. As always, completing a new idea will bring you more new ideas. I can't stop thinking. So let me know how you feel in the comments section down below. I hope you checked out part 1 of this video, and I hope you remember to like and subscribe if you're watching it on YouTube. Anyways, until the next time we meet again, my friends, remain unchained.